Hey, look at this. Look at this spread. Today we are talking about design for beer labels. Different materials that you can use, labels, shrink sleeves, different effects that you can achieve with them in your design. So graphic designers, buckle up. All right, today I have a selection of labels in front of me, labels and shrink sleeves, from different stocks, different print techniques, to getting different effects, metallics, and all sorts of different things, all laid out here in front of me. One of my favorite things to do for designers is to do this little show and tell, where I take a beer label and I show you the beer label, we talk about it, what went into the design of this label, what materials are used for this, what's the processes that are used for this. So that's what I want to do with you here today. First up, I want to start on my left. We'll work from labels, different kinds of labels, different materials, different effects, and then into shrink sleeves and some different things that you can do with shrink sleeves. So let's go. First up is this one here from Fieldhouse Brewing. This is a local brewery here to Abbotsford, British Columbia, where I'm filming this right now. This one is on a nice uncoated label stock with a hot foil. The Fieldhouse up here, that is in a hot foil. So this is a really cool, unique label because it gives a great tactile feel. It's got full color print on it, and the hot foil just pops off of that flat, textured, uncoated paper. This is a lot like a wine label in feel and vibe, which is fitting because this is one of the barrel-aged, more premium beers, not the sort of regular line from Fieldhouse. So that's a really great way to differentiate between sort of a standard beer or one of your standard house beers to something that's real special, like a barrel-aged edition or a minimum run, limited edition sort of thing, is that uncoated, thick, textured label with a hot foil. Really speaking like high-end. There's something special here. Next over is a really, really cool label. I love this one because the colors just jump off and they complement the product inside. So this is a great product from Provincial Spirits, a passion fruit orange guava vodka soda beverage. Awesome. Cool little stubby bottle. The label is, again, that thick uncoated paper. There's some texture there, really nice hand feel to it. And it fits so well with that stubby bottle and the colored product inside. Just a really great design, a really great aesthetic and use of the label. No foil on this one, but the bright colors that they're achieving with that neon, sort of bright neon yellow finish or orange finish, awesome. Just really well done. And again, it just feels nice in the hand, that thick uncoated label. It's got a little texture, which sort of goes toward that premium again as well. Really nice. Really nice. So those were uncoated stock. Now, I'll dive deeper into what that means in another video, but basically it means the paper is made exclusively of paper pulp. It feels more natural. It feels sort of like like regular printer paper, regular paper that is uncoated. It doesn't have like a sheen or a gloss finish or anything to it. Next is a recyclable plastic-based label called a BOPP, B-O-P-P. This is just a simple, clean design, a really unique design, cool illustrations for this particular label, but there's no specialty finishing, there's no foils or anything like that, just a clean, white, recyclable plastic-based label for Vancouver Island Brewing. So this is what most beer labels you come across are going to be, this BOPP. It just accepts ink really well. It holds up well in freezers and coolers and things like that. So it's very common. It's used a lot. So most of your 473 ml cans will be on this or a different version of this white BOPP called Met BOPP or Metallic BOPP. So this one, for example, this beautiful white chocolate stout label from Spectrum Beer Co. There's a lot of white on this label, but there's also gold.
I love gold!
Top, bottom, the name Spectrum. So in this particular case, to achieve that gold on a BOPP-like material, you're printing white. So the white you see is actually a printed white. To get the gold, that is actually just yellow printed on top of a metallic silver label. One of the coolest and most unique things that not a lot of designers know is when you're creating a beer label or any kind of label and you want a foil look to it, a shiny metallic foil look, it's most likely you're going to be printing on top of a metallic base, a metallic substrate or metallic stock, and then white where you don't want it to be metallic. You're not taking a white material and putting metallic to it with a foil or anything. It's reversed. It's the other way around. So you can create some really unique effects. This particular label just has the yellow overprint of the silver metallic label stock, which creates gold. Now this label also has a really unique die cut over on this side. Kind of goes in this S-shaped pattern, similar to, for the S for Spectrum. So really nice label, really well done. It stands out because of the metallic. It stands out because of the die cut. It's awesome. I really like this. I like the can. I like the vibe of this whole label. It's clean, yet just jumps off of the shelf at you. Really well done. Now, when you're using that metallic label substrate, that Met BOPP, you can do what these guys did and just print yellow on top of it where you want it to be metallic or foil look, and you get a gold. Or you can actually build in your file gradients where you have multiple colors of foil, multiple densities of foil in something like this label. This is a very unique label from Deep Cove Brewing, Screamin' Zealand Wild New Zealand IPA. So in this particular label, this entire front image of this bird here, there is foil built in there. There's gold, there's brown foils, there's different levels of silver, there's different golds, there's gray there's gray metallics. Like there's so much going on in this image in the metallic, and that's just achieved by printing different screens, different images on top of the silver metallic. Now all of this other area where it's not shiny metallic, that is got a white base printed under it, and that white base kills the metallic of the stock. The other way that you can double check this, and I always encourage people to sort of diagnose the beer labels that you buy. So when you buy a beer label, look at it, try and figure out how it was made, and part of that process is by doing the old corner peel back. So if I peel back this corner and I look at this, you see it basically matches the color of the can in this metallic silver. So when you see that silver substrate, you know right away that it's a base layer of silver metallic, and your color, your foil images is built off of that. Anywhere that you do not want to be metallic, you're printing a white down and then your CMYK on top of it. Everywhere you want there to be a metallic, you're not printing white and you're printing on top of the metallic substrate, giving you a whole bunch of different variables and looks of foil. There's all these different colors of foil. Golds, grays, browns, silvers. Really nice look. Really cool effect that you can achieve on any label, beer label, cosmetic label, pharmaceutical label, just using a metallic base substrate. Shrink sleeves. So shrink sleeves are similar to labels in that they decorate a can, decorate a bottle, something like that. But you can see right here, comparing these two, same size can, same size product, you get that little bit extra coverage with the shrink sleeve. You get a little bit extra on the top, a little bit extra in the bottom, full coverage artwork. This is as close to a full printed can as you're going to get without actually printing on the can. So with shrink sleeve, you got to know that shrink sleeve is clear. It's a completely clear material. So when you're printing on it, you have to print a white. Everywhere that you do not print a white, similar to using a metallic label substrate, is going to be shiny because you're putting it on a silver shiny metallic can. So again, you can include that in your design and play off of that effect in what you're creating and putting together. So in this particular example, lots of white there. All of the orange color has a white base behind it. There's nothing metallic. But over on this side, we've got some hops logos up at the top. Those are metallic. That's a clear shrink sleeve. You're seeing through to the silver of the can. So when that shows through, again, you catch that reflection. It catches a little extra pop, a little something off the shelf. And then the rest of it is just got a white base underneath of it. So in this particular example, you've got a little bit of the can showing through. You're working and interacting with a little bit of the metallic of the can. In this next example, it flips that on its head. This is a great example of how you can use shrink sleeves and create something entirely gold or entirely metallic. In this particular one, the only white areas are this thin line illustration all over the can and the front and back labels, like label areas where it's talking about the product, front and back, just really for legibility. But the rest of the can is just a screen of yellow printed on a clear shrink sleeve. So when you put it on the can, that silver metallic just whoosh, transforms the yellow into gold. If you were to cut this off the can, now note, when you're cutting shrink sleeve off of the can, my advice to you is to empty the can first. I'll show you why. This to reality, if I cut myself live on Instagram TV, we would have a problem. Or cut beer everywhere. It's not coming off. Oh, there we go. Yeah, I won't make that mistake again. But if you were to cut this off and look at it not on the can, it would look pretty lame. Like it would look like a really flat, dull yellow, like almost like it was a print mistake. But as soon as you put it on a metallic can, get that base of shiny silver, it transforms it into a gold can. So in the world of labels and shrink sleeves, there's so many little intricacies that you can work with and unique features that you can include in your design, and not by spending a ton of extra money on the creative and the print of it, just by interacting with the can, with a shrink sleeve, and where you're printing the white and where you're not printing white. Same thing with a metallic label substrate. Not printing a white on top of metallic, you can create some foils. You could have 100 different colors of foil on this can by only using the silver metallic stock and a white, not printing there. That's it. Super simple. A reversed out white where you want it to be foil. So now in your files, don't forget to really clearly explain that. Your layers should be labeled white layer and have your images that you want foil to be reversed out of that white layer. That way, when you're sending your files to the printer, they know exactly what you are trying to achieve. In another video later on, I will go over in depth a little bit more on the file side of this and how to label your files properly, export your files properly for the printer. But for now, just dream of the ideas. Dream of what you can create using clear shrink sleeves, clear shrink film, metallic label stocks. Now there's another thing I want to share with you about labels. Labels are not just uncoated or white or silver. There is endless amounts of ideas for labels. Just look at the swatch book. Look at all of the different holographics. Look at the different, there's wood veneer finish, there's white, there's textures, there's labels with vertical lines. There's so many different types of label stocks that you can use. Play around with this. This is just like a little snapshot of what you can do. But you can get even crazier with some really cool wood veneer labels or holographic labels, things like that. There's some incredible things that you can do. Now, we've talked labels, we've talked shrink sleeves, but there's one more. Cut and stack. So cut and stack is commonly used jams, jellies, hot sauces, salsas, but also beer labels. Some beer labels, usually really big volume breweries, use cut and stack. Now, cut and stack is basically a pre-printed paper label. It's just paper, there's no adhesive, but it gets cut, obviously, stacked into a machine that grabs one, applies adhesive to the back of it, and slaps it around the bottle as it's flying through the production line. That's how that works. So yes, I know this isn't a craft beer or anything, but this is a great example of a cut and stack. There's a couple of identifying features of cut and stack. When you have put this in the cooler, this label is going to be very soft. This is going to almost slide off of the bottle. Cut and stack labels don't really stay attached to the bottle when they get wet or when they get cold. They tend to come off and be really easy to peel off. But by that point, it doesn't matter. It's so much cheaper for large breweries to do cut and stack labels over some of the other options that we talked about that it doesn't matter. You've already bought the beer. It doesn't matter if it's in a cooler and the label's coming off. It is what it is. You bought the product. Another identifying feature of cut and stack labels is if you look at the neck label, not a lot of non-cut and stack have a neck label. And if you see one with a neck label and it kind of overlaps at the back like this one does, that is another identifying feature of cut and stack labels. These labels aren't very durable. They're just paper labels meant to get the branding across in the particular moment when you buy the product. And after that, you've already bought it. Cut and stack labels. It's cheap for larger breweries, but and it's not common that you see it in craft breweries, but it is out there. And if you're working with a craft brewery that grows to the size and scale where this makes sense, cut and stack makes sense, you just want to know that that's an option and that's out there. That's it for beer labels and beer label talk in this video, guys. Thanks so much for joining me. If you want to learn more about beer labels and how this world is made and how you can create really cool, really unique beer label designs, cosmetic label designs, pharmaceutical label designs, any type of label, head over to printdesignacademy.com. The link is also in the description below, and you can check it out there. We've got a free download for 10 beer labels. Only just 5 or 10 beer labels, how they were made, the materials that were used for them, and how you can create something similar in your designs. Thanks so much for checking it out. Don't forget to check out the Print Design Podcast here on YouTube. Also find that on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcasts. We talk all things print, all teaching you, the designer, what goes on behind the scenes in this crazy world of print. Thanks for hanging out.